here on YouTube in this perspective, just because I had my phone out and was chatting for Instagram about podcast number 1000, which is coming out this week. What do you think about that, buddy? I was going to do this outside, but good old San Francisco, it's nice and windy out there, and yeah, we don't need that. So, 1,000 podcasts, which is kind of crazy. I started this podcast in 2007, and 1,000 of anything is kind of cool, and to an extra digit kind of add in there. I figure, I don't know if I'll ever hit podcast 10,000, so I'm not usually into milestones, but I think that's kind of a cool one to hit. And for the 1,000th episode, I was able to, it's all sort of synced up. So we had the Golden Gate Base Camp here in San Francisco in June, and my buddy Richard Duke, who organizes that, he had the idea to do something live at that event. So that's what we did. We set up some cameras, got some high def HD video of the event, and you'll be seeing Chuck Israels, the wonderful jazz bassist. He was one of our guests this year, so he'll be on the show. And then Andres Martin, who wrote a piece for Charles Yang and, I'm sorry, live, bring Charles Chandler and Amos Yang, two wonderful musicians in the San Francisco Symphony, and they are cellists and bassists. They call themselves Tulo. So that video of them chatting with Andres about the piece that they commissioned. Then they've actually commissioned a couple pieces from Andres, and then they perform it. We got some good audio and video of that. And then we had a Q&A with folks at the event. All sorts of good questions for Andres and Charles and Amos. And yeah, super fun. So that's episode 1000. To start off the next 1,000 podcasts, my buddy, the wonderful bass luthier Gael McKeon, he had the idea to do a Turn the Tables episode and to interview me about the past, future of the podcast, and which I was thrilled to do. So Gael and I chat for 1,001. And one of the questions he asked is, what do you see going forward for the podcast? Which is a good question. And I think it's a good thing to talk about here on YouTube. As you know, for years, I put out hundreds of these just still images of just the podcast art and then the audio of the podcast, which, you know, is not particularly engaging as video. I think that'd be fair to say. And I stopped doing that when I started taking YouTube a little more seriously and really trying to do talking to the camera videos and that kind of stuff, which really wasn't until 2020, lovely 2020. And then I just thought it was, you know, I kind of thought of my YouTube channel as a garbage fire. Before that, it was just like these audio only podcast episodes and random stuff from 2008 and that kind of thing. And so I stopped putting out the podcast on YouTube. And also, you know, I get video of everything these days pretty much because if I'm doing it on Zoom, we just get video. And if I'm doing it live, I can always set up a camera. In terms of just like workload and capacity, I just haven't really committed to putting all the podcasts out on YouTube. And I just personally don't really like watching Zoom chats. So, but live things I think are a little more interesting. So going forward, I do see doing more. I don't know if I'll put every podcast out here on YouTube, but certainly ones that I get good video for and that maybe, you know, I can do clips or if we get into a specific topic, that kind of thing. I've been doing that for the last few years when I talk to somebody who's got a book out, who's got Arnold Schnitzer with the handy bass, the handy double bassist, or Susan Hagen with her warm-up book, or Lauren Pierce with her How I Learn a Piece. And so more of that will be coming for sure. And then I'm going to be going up to Portland. Here's another example of what's coming for the channel. I'm going to chat with the wonderful bass luthier Pete Lampe, who won an award for tone at the last International Society of Bassists Convention. So Pete and I will chat for the podcast, but we'll also get some video, put that out here, chat on lutherie and all kinds of good topics like that. And then also Ear Trumpet Labs, the makers of the Nadine microphone. I'm going to stop in at the workshop and we'll do a tour and chat about microphones and amplifying bassists. That's a super cool mic. I've done a deep dive here on the channel, and Christian McBride and many other bassists have been using it. And so we'll do that. And I just find myself increasingly with high definition cameras at things that I would normally be doing audio only podcasts. And so I do see doing more video going forward. I'm not going to stop the audio podcast. Me personally, I'm audio first with podcasts. When I'm doing the dishes or I'm at the gym or I'm walking William the dog, right, William? I'm listening. But I do find myself increasingly the last few years really enjoying getting into some shows and the Waveform podcast. A lot of comedy podcasts. I find myself just digesting on video first. So we'll probably play around with that. YouTube continues to evolve what they do with podcasting. They've got this podcast tag, so kind of like what they're doing with shorts and what they're doing with long form videos and live. They're all kind of like different buckets. And YouTube, from things I follow, hi buddy, from things I follow, it's gotten much, you don't have to worry so much about messing with like your core content by putting out other stuff like podcasts. So I'll probably do more of that going forward. And thank you for hanging out on this impromptu little video here. I expect more scheduled stuff like this coming soon. And one of the things I see going forward, I do want to get off my duff and actually start doing some regular live content. I always enjoy it when I do it, even something like this, just popping out the phone and hopping on for a few minutes here. So I just have, you can probably relate, I just have enough projects in my life, and adding one more thing is just like, I want to make sure I enjoy doing all of this, which I do right now, but I've definitely been at points where I'm doing too much and I hate it all, and I don't want to get to that point. So I sort of fear adding in some live thing, but boy, I've suggested in the past, I've had so many good ideas come from folks. So going forward in the next 1,000, and here on the channel, because we're talking for YouTube right now, yeah, probably gonna try to get some more live stuff happening. So thanks for hanging out, and we will see you again very soon. And how do I stop this feed?